Okay, so the next portion after we finish creating the body is going to be to create and add the arms. So I started this video here at the end of creating the body for a reason. What happened to me, it's like sometimes it happens to me and sometimes it doesn't, so it's likely to happen to some of you, is that when I finished this and I went to the next stage, this disappeared. And if you remember, the same thing happened with the Roman column assignment. So I just want to kind of remind you that just in case that happens, just go ahead and just select what the work you've done already. You're going to scroll all the way down to part collection. I already have one here, but you're going to hit create part, name it, and save it. And then this way, when you move on, just in case you go to the next phase and it disappears on you, you can just bring it right back in. So when I hit continue, I think it's going to work this time, but the first few times I did this, it had disappeared. Yeah, so it's here now, but if it wasn't, and if it's not for you, then you're going to go down to your parts and you're going to bring it in. So it's just a tip for those of you that need it. Now, for creating the arms, I will tell you that there are only 3 steps here, although there are far more than 3 steps to actually making this. The way these instructions are written out is really confusing. There are very few images. Oh, this is 3 of 3 because I've done it already. But yeah, this is really lacking. So here's what I did. I went and I found an Instructables PDF that walks you through it with way more images, and I think the directions are a lot better. So those are on my website. So when you're on the Tinkercad page, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, which I want you to do, you can go ahead and click on adding the arms. These are the instructions that you're going to use. You can zoom in on them, and they're going to walk you through this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help get you started with bringing in these 2 unique shapes, helping you kind of manipulate these shapes a little bit, and then you're going to go and you're going to jump up to this set of instructions. And since we're here, I want to show you this PDF. I don't want you to be intimidated by these 20 written steps. So it's having you rotate, a certain shape, the corneum. This is, we're about to do this in the video, so just sit tight. But it's going to have you rotate it 90 degrees along the z-axis, and then again on the y-axis, and 22.5 degrees on the on the z-axis again. These are all explicitly written directions, but what I really like about this PDF versus the in-program tutorial is when you scroll past these 20 steps, everything is laid out with images. So this is what we're really looking to do. All of these steps, the details of these steps, are laid out in those 20 written instructions that were just above this. So to me, and for me, this made it a lot easier to understand. So, my recommendation is when you get up to this part, kind of scroll through the pictures so you see what it is you're going to be asked to do, then come back up and start following the written instructions. So if you remember, the body didn't have to be exact, completely precise. It didn't have to be, and neither does this. In the end, you want something that looks like this. So you get as close to this as you can using these as a guide. So, like I said, I'm going to get you set up with these first 2 shapes. We're going to do that together, and then you're going to be on your own. So the 2 shapes, and it is in here, but it's just laid out a lot better in the PDF. Now we're going to this shape generator. And we're going to go to all. So this is like the 3D warehouse for Tinkercad. Now, in the in-screen tutorial, it says to go to page 8, but this is outdated. As of this recording, the 2 shapes we're looking for, I found them on page 16. So that's probably going to be the same for you. One's called the pineapple, even though it doesn't look like a pineapple, and the other's called the corneum, if I'm pronouncing that right. So we're going to go all the way to page 16, or you'll go, wherever you need to go to find it. But for me, it was on page 16. They both were. Here's that corneum and the pineapple. Okay, so you're going to bring those in because that's what it asks you to do. And then we're going to start to manipulate the corneum. So if you click on that once and hit F, that focuses in on that particular object, which I think is a cool feature. So I know with SketchUp we do zoom extents a lot, but this is very specific and I really like that. And what we have here, and again, this is, for those of you, I don't want you to get lost in this PDF. This is kind of the beginning of this PDF. So it's showing us how to modify the corneum to get more of a tentacle-like shape. So what we have here, this is like a cross section. If I were to slice away some of this corneum and look at it head on, this is what I would see. This is the profile of it. And for those of you in advanced design and architecture, this is really like a spline, right? So it's as if we used the spline tool and we created this shape. And as you know, when you use the spline tool, and for those of you in design and tech, you don't know this yet, but it's a little preview for next year because that's when we're going to have to learn AutoCAD. The spline tool creates a curved shape that allows us to kind of manipulate the curvature of said shape. So what they're asking us to do is make this as close to a circle as we can get it. It does not need to be perfect, but it just makes this look more tentacle-like. And it's cool that it updates in real time. So I thought this was a very cool feature for Tinkercad. Not a perfect circle, but pretty close. Then we're going to change some of these settings. They are not very clear as to what all of the settings should be, but again, we don't have to be overly precise. We want this to just look tentacle-like. If we click on this image, what we can see, the top three numbers need to be 1 millimeter, 10 millimeters, and 0.1 millimeters. So we can at least start with that. 1, 10, 0.1. So there's 1. This is already 10. 0.1. And what I found is if I scroll all the way to the bottom, this top cross, if I slide that all the way to the left, that's how I get this to be a little bit more pointed and more tentacle-like. So to me, that's good enough. That's exactly what I need it to be. Right, so this PDF, the first kind of section of it, covers what we just did in this video. So you can skip over that. I want you to follow along with what I just did in the video and then move to step 2. So step 2, you're going to use the PDF. Step 1, hopefully you were able to follow along with me. And again, when you start reading this and it gets a little bit daunting, don't forget, everything you see here is demonstrated in these pictures. And if you're a little bit confused, understand that in the end, this is what you're going for. So get it to be as close to this as you can. That's all we're looking for. All right, and as always, if you have questions or when you have questions, shoot me a message through Remind and I will help you out.